Marketing is an iterative process. And in that iterative process, one of the key things that we marketers use is A B testing. A B testing simply is testing between two things, A and B. One is called control, and the other one is called the test variant. So, today we'll be going through some of the common pitfalls that we marketers fall into while we're doing an A B test and see how we can avoid them in our own tests. Before we run the experiment, there are three key things that we should keep in mind while before we're running an A/B test. The first thing is to set up a business hypothesis. So by business hypothesis, I mean that we should have one assumption about our own business. So this could be that social proof improves conversions or something else for your business. And for testing that business hypothesis, we should be able to then segment that down into few tests that we would want to conduct to be able to conclude whether that assumption is right or wrong. The second one is to conduct an AA test. So this is not an A-B test, AA test, when the control and the test variants are the same. If in the long run for an AA test is the p-value is constant and the p-value is 0.05 or more, then your test setup is right. But if in case your p-value turns out to be less than 0.05, there's something wrong with the methodology that you're right now using for the A/B testing. If you don't know what p-value is, I'll be talking about that further in later part of the video. The third thing is the pre-test analysis using MDE. Pre-test analysis is nothing but before you do the analysis, we need to check what is the sample size for each variant that we should be able to consider to do the A/B test. And the MDE is the minimum detectable effect. Typically, MDE, which is the minimum detectable effect, should be 10%, but this would vary according to your own business. So there are a lot of calculators that you could use which are available online. I'll be linking them down in the description as well. You can click on them and just do some analysis on that as well, which will tell you at different levels of MDEs, which is the minimum detectable effect, what is the and given the amount of traffic that you're getting on the website, what is the minimum sample required for both the variants. This should be able to help you plan the duration of the test as well. So the first thing that is there while you're talking about some of the common pitfalls that marketers fall into is the sample size. Sample size is nothing but what are the minimum number of samples that you require per variant to be able to see or assess any significant difference between the performance of the control and the test variant. As I said before, this is like a function of the MDE, which is the minimum detectable effect. And once you know the sample size, you should be able to figure out the period of the test. The next thing is type 1 and the type 2 error. Type 1 error, or otherwise known as false positive error, is the probability that you've declared A or B as the winner, but in reality that is not the case. And this is one of the common things, most common type of error that people conduct or people incur while they're doing an A/B test. Type 2 on the other hand is called false negative error. So here what we are saying is, you are saying that there is no significant difference between A and B, but indeed there is a significant difference. So we will be going through how can you avoid these errors in your A/B test. So to avoid this type 1 and type 2 errors in your A/B test, one of the key things is the concept of significance level and statistical power. Significance level, also denoted by alpha, is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis. That is, there is no significant difference between variant and control. So whenever I'm talking about null hypothesis, that means the assumption that there is no difference between A and B, when it is actually true. So here what we are saying is significance level is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true. So we are saying there is in reality no difference between A and B, but we are saying we are rejecting this. So we are saying it's either A or B which is winning the test. This is one of the common things. If we take care of significance level in our test, we should not be incurring this error in our A/B test. So this typically is at 95%. So we are 95% sure. We are still leaving 5% on the table, but we are 95% sure that the test that we are running and the results that are coming from the test are actually true. The second is the concept of statistical power, which is the probability of correctly rejecting the null hypothesis when it is false. So here the problem is that there could be a situation when there is actually no difference between A and B, but there is like a difference between A and B, and we are saying that there is no difference. So think of statistical power as the power of your test. Or the other popular analogy that people use is, think of it like a fishing net and think of statistical power as the holes in your fishing net. As you have more holes, bigger holes, rather I should say, you will not catch smaller fishes. And as you have smaller holes, which is more statistical power, you should be able to catch the smallest fish as well. Now, the statistical power is typically set at 80%. You could, by your own, in your own experiment, you should be able to then play with the values of significance level and statistical power at different levels. But the problem in that case would be that you, in most cases, would not have the amount of traffic or the patience to be able to run the test successfully. So the third most common ignored factor is the business cycle. So there are two reasons why you should be considering the business cycle while you're doing the A/B test. The first one is very intuitive and very simple. So let's say, for example, if your average time for a user to transact on your website is 2 days or 3 days, let's say, and so the person comes on day 1, converts on day 3. But now the fact that you've run the experiment for 3 days, people coming on day 3 or even people coming on day 2 might not convert, or you are not even giving them the chance to convert before you end the test. So it is typically advised to run the test at least twice the average amount of time a user takes to convert on your website. The second most important thing is to consider the micro business cycle. This is typically week. So if you're seeing weekly if you are having a cyclical business, weekly cyclical business, so if the transactions are more on weekends or transactions are more on weekdays, you should at least give the test 2 weeks to be able to then do the analysis. And the ideal test duration should range between anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Coming to A/B test hygiene, there are 3 things to keep in mind. The first one is, if you're like most marketeers, you'll be using Google Optimize and Google Analytics to be able to execute your campaign. And in the base, you should be able to, you should ideally then install the Google Optimize script on your website and use the anti-flicker snippet. Anti-flicker snippet would do nothing, but it would just show the web page to be a blank space before the algorithm decide whether the user falls in category A or category B. The third one is the sessions in GA with the experiment ID and the variant ID. So whenever you're linking your Optimize and Google Analytics, Google Optimize will give you segments that you can export in Google Analytics. But if you want to do it yourself, what you do is, in Google Analytics, create a new segment and filter the sessions. In that segment rule, you filter the sessions with the experiment ID and the variant ID and feed in the values that you're getting from Optimize. Then you should be able to do different cohort analysis, which I will talk about in the later part of the slide. So some of the test analysis tips, you don't rely on any tool. That's tip number 1. So some tools are configured to give you more wins. Then in reality, those are actually not your wins. So once you're taking care of your business cycle, keeping things that I've given you, using simple calculators online, you should be able to actually figure out whether there is a significant difference between A and B or not. The second one is testing different cohorts. This is very important. A lot of us are not doing it. In this case, if let's say for example you were testing the new homepage with your current one, now the B variant performed better. You have a better conversion rate for variant B. Now the problem in that case is that you would not go further than that analysis. So what you do in that case is you have to have different cohorts. So these are cohorts like your different devices, or different browsers or different channels. Now when you're doing the cohort analysis, you will then see, is my B variant working better than A for all the channels or for all the devices or for all the browsers? You can test it out with different dimensions to see where exactly is the difference coming from. If it is across all the channels, then there is nothing wrong. I mean, then you could say that B is winning and A is losing. But let's say for example, if this is specific to a particular channel, then you can dig deeper into why is the difference coming from that particular channel, and that can give you further insights. And if there is no significant difference between A and B, what you do is you choose whatever you feel like, basically. So if there is no significant difference between A and B and you still feel that your new homepage is better aesthetically, you could go for that. So that's all for now on A/B testing. If you've liked what you've learned, you make sure to subscribe to my channel, share this video with your fellow marketers, and visit my website at ankitbagga.com for more such interesting marketing growth hacks and tips. Thank you for watching.